Hey, how you doing? It's Reg here from Aver Reg Guy. I'm going to do some maintenance on my space station. Just like the real space stations, every now and then they need to be nudged and shuffled around to make sure that they don't come crashing down through the atmosphere again. And every time I go up there and I drop something off, it could affect my orbit that it's sitting at. So what I've done is I've built a rocket here. So I'm just going to go resume game. And let's just take a look at my space station first. So if you look at right now, my space station is orbiting at 50 kilometers on the one side, 49.9 on the other side, which means it's not a perfectly circular orbit. And we want to keep it a circular orbit. The reason that this becomes an issue in the real world is our atmosphere doesn't just end. It slowly gets thinner and thinner and thinner. So the space station always has a little bit of drag to it because it's pretty low as far as things go that are up there. And it's always got a little bit of drag, so every now and then you just gotta give it a nudge just to keep it in place. Now, I'm not sure if that's why the game has this, where it comes in a little bit, or if it's just that it wasn't a perfectly circular orbit to start with. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use the engines, I'm just going to use the thrusters that are on it. And eventually all of these fuel reserves you see that I have here will start to get used up. And that's just something to be aware of, right? But I have a lot of engines on this, a lot of thrusters on it. So what I'm going to do is take my rocket, or wait for my space station, wait for it to get to its furthest point up, which is right at 50 kilometers. We can see right there. So we're going to go right to that point, just like we're doing when we're doing an orbit, and then I'm just going to use thrusters just to try to push that back to 50. Okay, so let's just cruise it around a little bit. And I'm not going to turn it or anything, because remember, with thrusters, even just turning it can change your altitude and everything, so I'm not going to do that. Okay, I'm at the highest point. So now all I'm going to do is just nudge it a little bit to see if we can get it to 50 on both numbers. There we go. 50 and 50. Now, does that mean it's 50.04? Perhaps. And it could be 49.99. Not likely, but it could be something where it'll eventually go back down to 49. So I've done a little bit of an adjustment. Just going to leave it alone. Let's go back to my space center. Okay, so exit back to the space center. I'm going to do a continue build. And I want to show you, I've already set one of these up to basically allow me to control my space station. In fact, let me just show you that here. If I just go to launch for a second here, I'm just going to go to map just so we can see my space station again. That's not it. This is it. Okay, so if we just take a look at this, it's pretty big. Okay, and right off on the side over here is what I'm putting up. This little one right at the end there. So this is my Orbital Maneuvering System, my OMS, I'm going to call it. And basically what we have here is we've got two thrusters. Okay, it's got a dock here. It's got small docks and then one large dock, depending on which port something is coming up to it. So something can come and dock onto here if they want to. We've got some ion engines on here, which are very efficient, so they're good for just doing little nudges, or if I want to change the orbit a little bit. And then the big thrusters, just in case I really need to give it a push. So what I'm planning is I'm going to put one there, which I've got. I'm going to put another one right here. I'm going to go and put one right here on this side. And this little guy, oh, I forgot to open the sails. I just sent this one up here. This little guy. And this is part of my rig for picking up the, or for carrying the OMS up to space. So let's do that. I think the next, so I'm going to be bringing up one more set of sails, solar cells. So I think I'll attach them on this end over here just to make sure that I'm not getting in the way of anything. Back here, these guys is for parking rockets. If I have rockets go up there, I want to have some docking bays for them to park. One thing I'll talk about here one day is I'll go into a build and I'll talk about building stuff like this. You have to do clipping. And in this latest version, you can clip some things, but you can't clip engines anymore. There are workarounds people have done, but I'm not bothering because I don't want to stack 15 engines in one hole and say, look, I've got a super powerful. I'm going to work with what the simulator has given me. But this is nice to be able to do a clip like this, because basically what it does is allows you to build a shape like that, where you can have modules out each side. And I've got processors and everywhere. I've got computers everywhere on this thing, so they're all around. Okay, so let's take a look at the rocket I built. So I'm just going to go back here because there's the station, and I'm going to go back to build. I don't want to revert. I want to just wait till we get this guy going. Okay, let's look at this. So it's my standard orbital, just for orbiting the Earth, rocket system that I've used multiple times before. I've got first stage is the bottom 3 rockets. Second stage is disconnect the first stage setup and just light this engine. And then up above that is, right here is a solar array plus a couple of working pods. And then it's got this little bracket here. And the reason I put this bracket on is this is my OMS system, my Orbital Maneuvering System. I can call it structure too if I want. Orbital Maneuvering Structure or Orbital Maneuvering System. I'll figure out something official with it. But this is just so I can release it easy, and I don't have to have it sitting this way, which is like pushing a sheet of drywall through the air, right? I'd rather have it pointed up and down. I would like to be able to have this little rod just come straight up and have one on each side and do 2 in one shot. But the fairings aren't big enough. Even with my biggest fairing, I can't do that. So, yeah, do what you got to do. And so that's what this one is. So, I've already talked about what's on this one from looking at it up. That's already up there, so let's just go. So, I'm going to go launch. It says no parachute, no shield. That's fine. Now, before I do anything, I want to see where my space station is. So this is just a satellite. It's still back here. So I'm going to let a little bit of time pass, just so it's a little bit closer. There we go. Doesn't have to be, but I just like doing that because it makes things go by a little bit easier. So I'm going to switch to this. Okay, so full fuel, stage 1 for the rockets firing, and give her. Okay, standard process. So go up. As soon as I get to about 1,000 meters, I'll start tilting it over and make sure I'm going in the same basic direction as the original space station, because otherwise you'll make your life really exciting trying to dock with it. Docking is something that takes a little bit of playing, and I am by no means a docking master, but I've successfully done it quite a few times. There we go. So I just keep adjusting my angle right up to 60 here. Starting to get a little bit of heating going on. You can see the space station is currently just passing right over top of me. So I can go to 75 degrees. Actually, I can go all the way over now, because I don't want it to get super high again. I never waste my energy and my fuel trying to get super high up into space. I just need to get into space. I want to have a lot of sidewards force on this thing. Okay, so we're out of fuel. So I'm just going to let it move on up. I've just nicely tucked in behind the space station. It's at 50, remember, when I set the angles. So let's stage and continue on. And we'll open it up. Okay, so now we give her and just hope that we can get into orbit nicely. It's starting to come around. It's coming, it's coming. There we go. Okay. Try to get altitude here. It's going a little bit high on the backside, but I need for it to at least reach low Earth orbit like it just did here. Okay, let's cruise around a bit. That's pretty low right there. I'm actually going to hit the thrusters a bit here, just to try to push this out just a little bit more. .32 is fine, but just there we go. 34 makes me feel better. So what I'm going to want to do is slow down just a hair so that I bring in the orbit on the other side just a little bit. We have a ton of fuel, so fuel is not going to be an issue in any way, shape, or form here. And we will kick this one up to around 50 in a few seconds here. Okay, so let's accelerate just to bring in the other side a bit, bring that down closer to 50. And I'm actually going to bring it to about 49.9. Okay, and there, 49.8 is close enough. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm behind the space station. So I'm going to bring it a little bit lower, so my effective orbit relative is going to be faster. And I'll catch up to the space station. Okay, so let's just quickly spin her around here. And you can see I should be able to see the space station out the window, but don't forget that's at 34.4 kilometers, right? There we go. I just adjusted it back to 49.9. And let's just take a peek. Sometimes I might actually be able to see it here. Oh, it's actually easier for me to look on here. No, I'm not seeing it. So it's just quite a bit lower than we are, right? Or we're quite a bit lower than it is. So it should be coming in around here, but we're not seeing it. Even though it looks like we're close, we're not that close really. we are significantly lower than what it is. Okay, and don't forget, we were behind it. Now we're ahead of it. Why? Because we were lower than it. Okay, so let's adjust this again. So with this one, I want to speed up to make the other side come out of it. Now, you can do the navigate to and all that, just like navigating to planets, but in all honesty, I find the technique that I use for this works really well for me. And hopefully it works for you as well. So I'm just going to bring this out a bit. And I want to sort of keep an eye on both sides to make sure I'm not... See, that one's already jumped up to 50, and I'm at 44. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to scoot around just one time here and come back at it again. Just because it moved, right, as we start adjusting. That's why I don't have my thrusters turned on, because they will affect this quite a bit. Okay, so let's just adjust. And bring it out some more. 48, 49.8. 49.9. So I'm a little bit lower, which means I'm a little bit faster than what the... So because I'm ahead, I need to slow down. So to effectively slow down, I'm going to push my orbit out to 50.1. Where are we at right now? There we go. 50.1 and 50, which means now I'm a little bit slower than the station, which is going at 50 and 50. Okay, good enough. So now we just wait a little bit and let it catch up. So you can see the space station is following us. And if it's at a perfect 50-50, it should, when I go to 50.1, it should catch up just a little bit with us. Now, I can do this and wait around for quite a while, or we can speed it up. But you want to keep an eye on it. Don't let it go. It's catching up. You see they're starting to overlap. Okay, this is why when they send, SpaceX sends the astronauts or a payload up to the space station, it doesn't just, there, okay, it does the same thing. They do the same thing. They get a little bit lower orbit, and then they'll slowly move in until they get into a safe approach sphere, and then they will work their way from that point. Basically the same idea as what I'm doing here. Okay, so you can see it's overlapping more and more. And I sort of recognize what it should look like when it's close. Okay, so you can see I've got all sorts of things are all lining up there, but that's because I've got other things floating around up here too. So let's just take a quick look. So if we come from here and I start to back out, the space station's getting big. So when we are close enough, we'll see it. So let's go around a couple more times. Okay, so it's still, I'd zoom in quite a bit, and you can see he's still a fair amount behind him. Getting closer. There, you see that? That's almost there. That's getting really close. Let's just see. See if we can see it. There it is. See it on the top there? Right there. There's us. There's the station. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to watch it from this position. And the reason I'm doing this, you can see how it's getting closer and closer. It's actually spiraling in on us. So as soon as it gets a little bit closer, okay, well, you see how it suddenly started spiraling towards me? That means we're there. So let's see where we're going here. So I can use now, turn on my thrusters. I'm going to eject the load here. Okay, I am going to go to this, switch to, and just tell that to go away. And the reason I'm doing that is because I've had incidents before and it was not pretty. So there's the space station, and yep, switch to and map. Now where are you? There it is. So I've got to turn the thrusters on. Now I'm just going to use the arrows and just start driving towards my space station. Go slow, because you will drive right through it. So I'm coming in nice and slow for it. Remember where I'm going to put it is right on this. I happen to be perfectly pointed right at the side I'm aiming towards. In fact, here, let's do this. I'm going to dock the solar array first. So basically the way I think of this is I point the arrows in the direction I want to go. So if I want to go down, I'll go down. If I want to go up, then I push up. Okay, so I'm pointing it down just a little bit. Drive towards the station. And it's all little thrust. Don't sit on it because you will get cruising way too fast to be able to control. So yeah, I'm going to hook the solar cell onto this end right here. And then we'll take the maneuvering system, Orbital Maneuvering System, I think I still like that name, and drive it there. So we're coming in. Again, don't go crazy with it. There's no need to speed. And when you bump the station, you will knock its orbit a little bit. So here we come. That's why when you watch SpaceX, they don't come cruising in really fast. They come in nice and slow. And you can see the little thrusts coming from it. Okay, so I'm going to start thrusting in the other direction just to slow down my approach. Arrow up, arrow down, just lining it up so that we're going to hit nicely on that docking port. Little thrusts. Get ready. Doing. So we are connected. Yay! That's the first step. Now I'm going to take the Orbital Maneuvering System off of there you can see where I left the one little connector just over on that other side. Maybe I'll join this onto there just for kicks. That way I can show you just driving around a little bit up here. So I'm going to basically disconnect, grab this guy, and start moving away. So I'm going to drive around the other side and just connect this thing onto the stick on the other side. This is also a repair system, right? So if we need to do some repairs on a satellite or something, that's why it's got all the different docking ports. Okay, so we're just scooting around the outside here. Again, it's not a race, so that's where that port is. Right to my right there is where we're going to connect this thing when we're done. But I just want to run this piece of metal, the structure, over to that other side. Okay, so we're going just about around that side so we can start coming in. And this is actually good practice for doing some of this maneuvering stuff here. Just looping around because I want to have that port connect to the one sticking out of that other guy. So again, little thrusts. This is where I need to have the protractor. It's nominal. Don't need it. Don't need it. Be a good pilot. That's close. Okay. Okay, come down, go back in. Good practice for docking. Come on, there it is. Just got to wait for that. You're now docked. Okay, so I need to go back. Now I'm going to take this guy off. Eventually I'll have to take that chunk of metal and fling it off into space or something. But okay, so let's disconnect this guy. And again, I can turn them over and connect on one of those bottom ports if I want to. Whoop, don't hit it. Okay, now we gotta fly back around. Just about there. We'll take this guy back and dock him on the other one. The reason I built one of these is I have a capsule. I could just destroy it, but I've got one that's floating around sort of randomly. Well, let's be honest, it is random. It got away from me. So it was one of the ones that I brought up here, and I accidentally disconnected the capsule from the motor, which then makes it so it doesn't work very well, right? But what I will need to do, let me turn that off so I can see. Cool. What I will need to do is use one of these to go and get it, I think. But it's going to be a fun one because it's on not a circular orbit, it's on an elliptical orbit. So it's going to make it a little bit more of a challenge. Okay, so you see how I'm positioning it? I want those big thrusters pointing away from the station. So that way, in case I need to give it a nudge, that I'm pointing in the right direction. Come on. A little bit more. A little bit more. Come on. Waiting for soft dock. Waiting for soft dock. No, we're not docked. There we go. Got the soft dock. Okay, so there we go. So I've got now a thruster on the one side, and I've got a thruster on the other side. Orbital maneuvering systems on both sides. So basically now I need one on down over here and get rid of this little monkey mess that I've got going on up here. Toss that back, and or maybe I'll think of something I'll use it for. But I'll put another one on that end. So there you go. Thanks very much for watching. If you picked up some stuff on how to do some docking, let me know. Tell me, how it's going for you, and please do subscribe and like the videos so that we can get more people watching them. It's a great program. Let's promote this thing and make it so that they end up doing more and more updates for us and give us more planets. I want to be able to go Saturn, Pluto. I want to be able to. I know Pluto's not a planet, but we're going to call it a planet. So I want to be able to go out to these other locations, Neptune, and go see some more stuff and get some more things built into it. So, and I know they're working on it. So let's promote this and get it done. So thank you very much. So like I say, please do subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Talk to you later. Bye bye.